Good evening, short story writers. Part 3, I think, of what I've done as a writer, shall we say. Okay, so we left yesterday with I was teaching, I was teaching in Korea. I don't do that anymore. Um, I went there because of a big life event, and while I was there, I was still trying to get short stories published. But then um, that kind of ground to a halt. I was sending things out and they were coming back. So the rejection process it's something that affects absolutely everybody. I mean, you'll be pleased or otherwise to know that, and this is something you have to bear in mind. J.K. Rowling, like the Beatles, was rejected by everybody until I think there was just one last publishing house left in her list of contacts, which was Macmillan, I believe, and she sent it there thinking, well, if this fails, then I'll just pack in. And they picked up on her, and Harry Potter, all the other publishing houses. This is the problem with traditional publishing, and they no, not what we're looking for at this time. And then, how did we miss that one? Same with the Beatles. Tons and tons and tons of people turned them down, and the only reason that they got published was because Brian Epstein was very determined, and he finally got them a very bad recording contract with part of EMI. It was Parlophone, and it was a subsidiary label which was up until then dedicated to military brass marching bands and the Goons comedy. And this was history in the making in some ways, simply because the producer of the military brass bands, marching bands, was George Martin. And he became known as the fifth Beatle, possibly the sixth because they had a number of fifth Beatles. But nonetheless, he was instrumental in shaping their sound right up until 67, 68. And without him, a lot of what we regard, because they go in saying, I've got this idea and I want to be able to do this, and you say, I know how to do that. And I've seen the original of Eleanor Rigby. It went at auction, and my friend, who's a massive Beatles fan, ended up with it. He reckons he paid a rather modest price for it. I'm not sure, but he's got the penciled string quartet part for Eleanor Rigby, and I've seen that inscribed in the corner is with thanks to or something like that, W.A. Mozart. So, and it was apparently from the hand of George Martin. So he knew his stuff. Anyway, that was a happy accident. The fact is the Beatles were rejected by everybody, who then suddenly got on the Beatles bandwagon and was signing everybody up, the Rolling Stones and a lot of other groups. And why am I telling you all this with 4 minutes gone? Well, that's part of the journey, the rejection, part of everybody's journey. If you're going to be a writer, or you are a writer, then if you sent anything anywhere at all, apart from self-publishing, you're going to get rejected. It's not only part of the process, it's part of the learning curve, because you'll realize two things. You'll either get your thing back and think, actually, I don't know what they're talking about. I've put a lot of time and effort into editing this, and it is perfect. It's just obviously something that's not to their taste. Or they're going to give you some very active feedback, which you should implement. And anything that they tell you that you should do to improve it, I strongly suggest that you go ahead and keep that first draft and get a second draft, give it a new name if necessary, and make all the changes that they suggest. But if they say it's not what we're looking for at this time, that simply means it's not a good fit for their mood at the moment, what they normally publish. It could well be that you have a Harry Potter script there. It could be that you are a Beatles of writing, but you're not what they're looking for yet. And it happened to Stephen King with Carrie. He sent it off to a lot of places and it got rejected. So in the end, he put it in the bin. And it was only when his wife, Tabitha, found it in the bin, cleaning out his den. So she sent it off secretly to Random House, I believe it is. And they said, oh, yeah, this is okay. All right, I don't know why Stephen King didn't send it there, but he didn't. And so next thing is that he's doing that, and he folded it with Salem's Lot, and they were two very ahead of their time manuscripts. So how's this tying with me? Well, I was going through all this, and then I thought, you know something, I'm on the verge of giving up. At that time, I'd been given the guitar, and my 10-year hiatus from songwriting was about to end because somebody invited me to a party to come and play the guitar and play some covers. And I thought, well, you know something, I've got a couple of songs I could dust off as well. And that is the next kind of segue. But in the meantime, someone else at that party also came up to me, and we started talking, and it turned out that he was teaching at a university and said, have you thought about being a university lecturer rather than just teaching in these little academies? And I said, oh, I'd love to, but, you know, it's kind of, that to me was, I've got a friend who describes things as Everest. You know, you can do all the other things that you're capable of doing, but some things are just up there and they're ivory towers. I thought I'd love to teach at a university, but, you know, I said, all you've got to have is a master's degree. I said, oh, is that all? But it planted a seed. And part of the conversation, it emerged that your master's degree did not have to follow on from your ordinary degree, because my ordinary degree, my bachelor's degree, is in Hispanic Studies at Liverpool University. So I thought I'd have to do an MA in, and I couldn't think of anything that I wanted to pursue in Spanish that would be remotely of any use to them. And he said, no, it can be anything. And I thought, oh, really? And that was what led me to thinking about a master's in creative writing. So we'll get on to that tomorrow, because that was a whole chapter all by itself. Okay, so chapter 3 of my journey as a writer. Happy writing. See you tomorrow. And like, subscribe, and all that other stuff.